Here we go, folks. It is deadline day. Welcome to SFL.media, South Florida Media. I am Mr. Josh W., and I am here with PJZNY, Patrick Zarelli, the man, the myth, the aggressive progressive, as they call him. We're going to jump right in. We wanted to do this podcast very quickly because today is deadline day. Operation Epic Fury may actually reach its peak here. The lunatic in chief, Donald Trump, one of his biggest fans, folks. I couldn't have jumped more off the bandwagon here. We're going to get Patrick's thoughts on what's about to go down today. He probably has a better idea of the actual hour that they put on this situation, but this could be the change of our lives as we know it in Iran, in the United States, in the world. And I'm going to let Patrick tell you what the deadline is and why this is a big day if you're following the war in Iran.
Yeah, I printed up some notes on this, which I don't usually do for the podcast, so I wanted to be accurate. So the target deadline basically, so Trump started this like a couple weeks ago, it was a 10-day, and then he gave him shorter deadlines, and now that deadline is coming at 8 p.m. tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time if you're in different parts of the country. They're calling it Operation Epic Fury Phase 2. And basically the ultimatum is this, that they have to open the Strait of Hormuz, and if they don't do that, Trump is going to take out all the bridges and all the power plants in the country. And Trump did a press conference today where he says that they can do it before midnight EST. So between 8 p.m. and midnight EST, I mean, talk about telegraphing everything, but he's saying between 8 p.m. and 12 p.m. in that 4-hour block, he's going to turn the country black.
Yeah, it's funny, he's actually letting them know as if there's, I guess, anything they're going to be able to do to stop it. I don't know if there's anything they're going to be able to do to stop it. Folks, there's 90 million people in Iran. This is not a small country. Apparently, from what I do understand, why they're even looking into doing this is their Achilles heel is their energy, their power plants, and their situation is very vulnerable. I got news for you. So is the United States. So don't think that it's not vulnerable here if somebody really wanted to fuck with it. But this is a scary thought. Not only are you doing a humanitarian crisis, people throw around war crimes. That's the least Trump's concerned about. Sitting on a tribunal and maybe going to jail for war crimes is the least that this guy's worried about. He's doing way more catastrophic damage than anything like that. So, but it is a war crime if we're giving it a term. I've spoken with Pat and said about the humanitarian crisis of what happens when the plumbing doesn't work and the poop and the pits.
Let me give it to you. So this is the killer. So water and sanitation. Most of Iran's water is moved via electric pumps. No power means no running water and almost immediate dehydration and sanitation risks across the nation.
So people are going to get sick. No refrigeration, no internet, no lights.
That's what it also says. Food scarcity. Industrial food storage and logistics would halt. Without refrigeration, national food stocks would begin to spoil in days.
Yeah, and that's common sense. I mean, if you've ever been in a hurricane in Florida and your refrigerator goes out, you got to throw all the fucking food away. I mean, like, this is not a wow moment here.
We've seen this in Gaza. We've seen what this looks like with 2.1 million people. Imagine what it looks like with 90 million people. And there's also a lot of medical stuff that happens, right? You can't freeze medications. The hospitals can't operate. You can't do surgery. So it becomes like a humanitarian crisis almost instantly when you do stuff like this.
This is very scary, folks. You have to understand, why is this scary? I don't care if you're for Trump or against Trump. I don't care if you're rah-rah for the war or against the war. None of this has gone right. He's pushed deadline after deadline after deadline. I told Pat, I'm hoping this isn't another bluff. It doesn't seem like another bluff. He's pushed this back. He's threatened this before. It seems like this threat's very real. Iran has already prepared for this and basically said, and maybe they're just talk, but they haven't been talk so far because they're bombing the shit out of everybody, that if the United States does this, this is going to be a catastrophic situation that the world is going to feel. And maybe that's a nuke that they have hidden somewhere that they're going to let off a nuke. I don't fucking know. But I think that there will be a retaliation for this. So if anyone thinks that Trump's going to just kill the electricity in Iran and victory is to be had, I don't think that's going to happen. So I think it's very scary what the retribution could be of this. And then I think people don't seem to understand. They don't even know other states or other cities in the country. Tehran, Iran is as big as London It's as big as New York City. It's as big as Chicago. It's as big as any major city on the planet you can think of that has a ton of people. That's Tehran. This is not just some fucking city in the desert. This is not like your next door neighbor's a camel. It's not. This is really major. So it's what's whether you're for or against this, this is going to be really one-upping the situation.
It seems too to me like this isn't a military strike. This is almost a strike direct on the civilians. Because guess what? The military's been able to communicate. The military has also been able to fire off all kinds of weaponry from all kinds of places that they've stashed it throughout the country, from caves to hidden in cities, right? And so none of these strikes are on that. So you go in and you take out the power. Also, there's going to be a lot of human suffering. I'm sure it's going to cause chaos and pandemonium across the nation. But what have you done to basically stop the military strikes against all of our neighboring nations that we're partnered with, all of our bases and all that stuff? So I imagine those strikes just get amped up and they continue on, except now they continue on from a country where the people don't have power. So I don't really know how it advances us other than it infuriates the public and other than it basically gives them even more reason to hate us.
Well, and here's another thing.
It seems like a hollow plan.
How does this open up the Strait of Hormuz? Like, okay, so you do this. How does this fix what's the next step after this? How does this end this? How does this fix this? How does this make our gas prices go down? And how does this open up the strait for oil to go through? I'm not understanding how any of that.
Look at the strategic position he's put us in. We're not talking about regime change anymore. We're talking about the goal is opening up the Strait of Hormuz, which was free flowing and open before this started. So he's praying just to get back to ground zero. And it doesn't look like this plan is going to get near ground zero. And I've got news for everyone in the world. Iran, as long as they're in power, they're going to hold the world hostage. If Trump stops bombing them, they're not going to open the strait. They're going to hold it hostage and hold it hostage until they get guarantees that the world is not going to be willing to give them, and it's either going to start another conflict or something else. So what they've started now, you almost have to finish, and to finish it is going to cause boots on the ground, bloodshed, and all the things that Trump and no American wants any part of. So he has us in an absolute quagmire, and you can see it in his threats. You can read through his threats. He's like, hey, we're going to turn out the lights, we're going to take down the bridges, but maybe if smarter heads prevail, we could find an off-ramp. And the guy's like, dude, you just killed my family. I'm not fucking dealing with you. Fuck you. And it's completely understandable. Trump and Pete Hegseth have handled this so poorly that there's no good way out now.
Well, this thing is just riddled in disaster. Pete Hegseth compared the rescue of the F-15 fighter to the resurrection of Jesus. And compared it that it happened on Easter. So he turned this into a religious thing, which when we're sitting there and looking at these Muslims as crazy religious nuts and these Jews as crazy religious nuts, well, the head of our Department of War is a crazy religious nut. So this is not a
and he's firing generals by the second. He's firing all the talented people,
right.
12 or
13 generals who disagreed with this. People think why'd they fire them? Because they disagreed with all of this. So they had to can them.
And I've got news. Those generals are happy to leave before this quagmire gets worse.
Oh, I'm sure they are. I mean, they didn't want to lose their jobs.
Yeah,
but
much rather go out on their shield
here blood on their hands.
Yeah, than ride this thing into the ground farther. You know. So.
I got news for you too. Nobody knows who that F-15 fighter is. Nobody knows who the colonel was, who they said was sitting in the back of the F-15 fighter. And I've heard that colonel's a very high-ranked position. He should not even been in that jet.
Well, so from what I understand, and this is pretty interesting.
They're saying they're making that up too.
Well, maybe, but the first pilot, as the story goes, they got him out pretty quickly, right? But they lost equipment getting him out, like planes and other things were shot down getting him out. The second guy was in the mountains, and he was running and hiding around, trying to get away from them for like 2 days. And the U.S. was kind of monitoring him, and Iran's troops were kind of coming in close, and so they swooped in to get him. But Iran had a gunner, an old Soviet anti-aircraft gunner in those mountains. And when our 2 helicopters were there, one went down to get him. The other helicopter was a sitting bird providing cover. It took all kinds of shrapnel, and it ended up crashing. And the people on that helicopter got injured, and they had to run on foot to the other helicopter. And while they were running, an F-35 flew in and blew up that gunner, and that's how they were all allowed to get away. But
no one knows who this guy is.
Nobody knows the people. And the extraction itself, it was not. It was wonderful that we got it done, but did not come without a sacrifice. You know what I mean?
Well, and here's the other thing. The talk is that when they thought they were going to go in and remember, there was a team that was supposed to go and get the 1,000 pounds of uranium. Remember they were talking about they had to send in guys literally to get it with their hands.
Dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. Dumbest thing. There's no way our troops can do that.
They think that this was the failed mission of that. and that this was a rescue because that was a failed mission where people died. And do you know that I also heard, and again, this was just from Alex Jones, who's been as rah-rah as anybody. They're classified. It's literally classified, the deaths that are going on now. So that's why you're not hearing about them.
Oh, because Iran has come
classified.
out one day and they said that they killed 35 people one day, and the U.S. was quiet about it. So there may be families in America now where their loved ones have died and they don't even know it yet.
100%. And let me tell you this, and you can research this. So they all go to Ramstein Air Force Base. If anyone's ever heard, when there's war or whatever, they go to Germany, and there's a hospital in Germany that takes these soldiers.
Yep.
They're so overwhelmed with soldiers there that they're turning down Germans who also share that hospital. And they said that there are pregnant women trying to have babies.
You have 300 to 500 injured by our government's numbers, so it's probably higher than that. And
not even just dead guys. They're talking about guys with head wounds.
When troops come into Germany, they say they still have sand on them. That's how fresh off the battlefield they are.
Yeah. So we're not getting honest opinions also on how many people are getting hurt, how many people are dying. Israel won't tell you at all. And also
Israel dragged us into this, and they're saying they will not send ground troops. They said the U.S. needs to handle that.
I was still glad you just brought that up.
Into a war, and then you're unwilling to put ground troops.
Imagine that, everybody. Let's take a second here for what he just said. They dragged us into their problem, and not only is no other country sending ground troops or sending anything, mind you, but Israel, the country that dragged us into this quagmire, is not going to commit ground troops while our men are dying. How the F are we supporting this president? Any of this, this is out of control. And if it doesn't make you hate Israel more, I don't know what's going to at this point. And I say that as a you know what I mean? But there's something really wrong here. And the fact that they won't put boots on the ground and we have to die for this.
I think it's Netanyahu's dream come true that we're stuck in this quagmire and that we either have to take them out or take the L, because he knows Trump does not have the type of personality to take the L. And so he's going to go farther than anybody else would. And it's Netanyahu's best case scenario.
Well, and it's also just using us. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's a classic version of,
and you know,
I'm going to ask them, I'm going to use them.
You know, when Netanyahu comes to the USA where he stays at Jared Kushner's house. So that should tell you how close he is to the Trump family.
Yeah. Folks, you know, there's not much more to talk about here. We wanted to get on board early enough before this happens so we can go over what's really happening here. I hope people are paying attention to this. I know there's sports, wrestling, WrestleMania is on the horizon. I want to see it if we're not all dead before then. There's a lot of distractions going on. I get it. But if you are not paying attention to this, understand this. Our lives can change very, very dramatically. This is now going past whether it's just in Iran or just in Israel. This is very, very serious. If you are not watching us, watch somebody. If you are not paying attention to CNN or Fox, or pay attention to something. But somehow, some way, you need to be paying attention to what's going on here, because this is now ramping up. It's only escalating, and it's not getting smaller. It's getting bigger. And they keep using the term off-ramp. We're getting to the point where there are no off-ramps. I don't know where the off-ramps are on this I-95, man, because
if you think about them, you know, if you're Iran, right, are you going to make a deal with Trump and just be in some, you know, be beholden to him? It's not in the cards. It's not in their personality. It's not in their religion. It's not in the type of people they are, especially after what's happened to them. So there's no way that they're going to make a deal with him. And that's why Trump's tweets seem so pathetic. It's like he doesn't understand the Gulf Wars clearly. He doesn't understand the Middle East clearly. He has no frame of reference, because anybody who had any sort of knowledge about those events would not have gone down the road he went down to get himself into this quagmire. And the one thing I want to close with is this. Trump has made this thing primetime TV. It's going to happen at 8 o'clock tonight, right at the beginning of the week, on a Tuesday goddamn night between midnight. Couldn't be more primetime than that. But you know where it's not primetime? In Tehran. In Tehran, it's going to be 3:30 in the fucking morning. So you have to be either awake at 3:30 in the morning, or you're in bed with your family, and all of a sudden you start hearing bombs all over the place. Your water goes out. Your power goes out. You're living in blackness now, like a complete blackout. Like what is that like for those people? What are they going to think of the U.S.? What are they going to think of this situation? What are they going to do? I mean, I think it would be probably one of the most terrifying things in the world right now to have to sleep in Tehran tonight. If you're in Iran, this is the worst night of your fucking life.
If you're asleep in Tehran tonight, if somehow, some way, you put your fucking head down on a pillow and went to sleep, you're more clueless than the Americans.
Yeah.
I mean, like, what are you smoking?
No, if
because
you're in Tehran tonight, you need to get to a safe place. You need to be paying attention to what's happening. And I think that when you have 93 million people and you start bombing them like this and taking out power, I think you're going to create a humanitarian disaster. I think these people are going to head for the borders. I don't think you can keep them in like you kept the people in Gaza. So if you're a nation that's around Iran, I would be expecting all sorts of fallout. So this is going to enter total chaos mode tonight unless Donald Trump pussies out, and he's not the type to pussy out.
no, it doesn't seem like it. I think this is not a bluff. And anybody that's watching this, leave a comment. Tell us where you disagree. Tell us where the off ramp is. Tell us how after this happens, how this ends the war. Tell us how this is positive. I would love to debate us. Somebody tell us. You know, a lot of times me and Pat, we get on these things and we disagree on a lot of things. We're in full agreement on a lot of this. It just seems to line up that way. It wasn't done on purpose. I am not a bleeding heart. I'm not a liberal. But my heart bleeds because those people didn't ask for this. Those are just people living their lives, and the hardliners and the things they didn't ask for none of this. They just want a normal life, just like everyone else does. They want to have their family and work their job and do their little thing. And nobody saw this coming. 3 months ago, whatever. Nobody saw this coming, and this is very, very sad. I don't care whether you're for this or against this. We should all be saddened by what is happening here. And while it makes for great news and great discussion, it should really upset you as a human being what is happening here.
The average age of the person in Tehran or in Iran, the average person in that nation is 35 years old, folks. So we are talking about doing this to a bunch of young men and women just starting out their families. So
Yeah.
let's leave it at that, and let's all tune in and see what happens tonight. I'm scared.
Everybody, watch your news, watch wherever 8 o'clock. Maybe it's not going to be at 8 o'clock, but I can tell you now, I have a feeling they're going to be cutting away on every channel when this starts to go down, because if this goes down, they all know it's that big. So whatever you're watching, they're cutting away from it.
All right, let's leave it at that.
Yes, sir. SFL.media. This is where you get the information, folks. Keep watching us, comment, follow us, and we'll be back with more news.